At this time, I'll call the August 24th, 2023 meeting to order for the Dickson County Commission. Would you please stand and join in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For today's meeting, we'll just have two commissioners present, but as long as we have two, we can still conduct business as usual. As far as the agenda is concerned, we have two items to add to the agenda that were not on the printed agenda. One is a resolution in regards to the speed limit just east of Solomon, Kansas on Old 40. The second item is in regards to unclaimed property, and this is through Leah Hearn's Tracer's office. So we have those two additions. We do have one item we're going to remove from the agenda, and this will come up probably next week or the week after. But it is, we'll remove the purchase of a forklift for environmental services so we can gather additional information. I would move that we approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second it.
We have the motion and the second for approval of the amended agenda. Is there any discussion or question?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The consent agenda includes the minutes of the August 17th meeting, also expenditures of $108,696.97. Also a security wire of $4,346. And then hand checks that amounted to $2,342.65.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that motion for approval of the consent agenda. Any question or comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Commission comments, Ron.
No comment today.
Okay. About the only thing that I'll mention, earlier in the week, I was invited to the Republican Women had a meeting at the Senior Citizen Center. They had a couple of lobbyists that just spoke to kind of say what their job is and how they do their job. One had a local connection through Carol Ford. It was her daughter, Bob, who's passed away, and Carol, longtime residents here in Abilene, and their daughter is a lobbyist now down in the Texas, Austin, Texas, but is in charge of 5 states, from what I understand. And then the other was a lobbyist from Topeka. And it was kind of interesting because they just kind of went through the way lobbying takes place. And it's obvious, but I had really never heard this before, that it used to be back in DC that sometimes when some of the senators and congressional people would walk through the lobby, that was the obvious time maybe to catch them informally, just to kind of say, hey, this is what I think about this, or just kind of have some brief discussion. And so anyway, the lobby discussion turned into the term lobbyist. And then they spoke about, and one of the things that I thought applicable as far as our commission is concerned, that sometimes when something is first introduced, maybe it gets some traction, maybe it gets some feedback one way or the other. And then the second year, it gets maybe a little bit more traction, and then the third year. And so we can kind of see kind of the timeline sometimes of how ideas develop. But one of the concerns we have is the LAVTR funding that is supposed to go to counties and cities. And it's money that's been collected and sent to the state of Kansas. And for a few decades, they have kept the money instead of returning it to the counties and cities. And these, this amount of funding could actually help reduce property tax. And so it's, you know, it's important to the counties, but also important to the citizens. But the state legislature has decided they'd rather keep that money. But having said that, when this issue came back up again, probably more this past session, a lot of the representatives for the state of Kansas and the state senators for the state of Kansas at Topeka. They weren't around when that money got withheld. And it was almost like a new concept. And they said, well, maybe we should look into it. And from a fairness standpoint, you probably should have that money sent back to you. And it's enough money that it could make an impact on the budget. So, here's an example of maybe something where some lobbying efforts and really all of us citizens are lobbyists to the extent, not formally tagged as a lobbyist, but we can get a hold of our elected officials. And of course, sometimes we're the receiving end of that as county commissioners too. But that's part of the process, and that's a good part of the process. So anyway, that's all I have. We do not have any petitions or proclamations today. We do have some people that are online, as well as people here in the audience, but this would be opportunity for public comment. And if someone does have a public comment or a question, this would be your opportunity to bring that up, and just need to introduce yourself and by name and where you live if you did have any particular comment today. And this is one of those days where people are in the listening mode, and which is good also, but I don't believe there are any comments.
No.
Okay, so we'll go to the next item on the agenda and our report of county officers. Janelle, if you'd go ahead and proceed with your report.
Just a couple things. The transfer station is still closed currently. They started work this week to remove the concrete in the waste building, and we're still expecting it to be down for 3 to 4 weeks. With that, we are still accepting limbs and household hazardous waste, grass, e-waste, metal, and that. We're just not accepting waste from the haulers, unfortunately, while those repairs are going on. So hopefully that goes quicker. Reese Construction also is moving equipment to 1145 First Road. That's the bridge there that is on the county line that we're sharing the cost with Clay County. So they hope to start working next week on that. And if you recall, it should be done before the school year starts in August of next year. So fingers crossed that goes quickly. And then we also had several staff that were in Wichita this week attending the CIC symposium, and CIC is the software provider for all of the applications that we utilize. So some good training out there for the staff, which is great. Also, they had the opportunity to request any updates or enhancements to our programs to make them run more efficiently and that. So, and that would be all I have right now.
Okay. And then you had visited with Doug earlier, but Doug Thompson has other responsibilities, not here today, but no report from him.
No report from him.
I will mention that earlier this morning, we did have a report from Leah Hearn, and just gave us an update as far as her office is concerned. And things are running smoothly there as far as, and we're fully staffed in that particular department. And then also Jill was here and gave us an update as far as the Chisholm Trail Extension Office. And that's an extension office that's in cooperation with Marion County. And of course, we just finished the Central Kansas Free Fair up here, where it really showcases a lot of the efforts and a lot of the involvement as far as the young people throughout the county, but also the support staff and volunteers for judging. And I mean, just a lot of great efforts that go into making it a great fair for the county. So it's good to hear from her. On notices and communications, we had a notice from the 8th Judicial District, and they have a Dixon County Drug Court graduation coming up, and I'll try to be in attendance of that, and then we can probably put something on the website, because probably most likely Ron, you'd be there, and Craig, if at all possible. And that's on September 13th. And then I have received a few comments and letters and concerns that people have as far as the wind turbines that are being discussed. Kind of as far as throughout the county, we haven't had any formal hearings or public hearings at our level or no application at our level. This almost ties in with maybe the comment I made earlier about the efforts that lobbyists make for groups to introduce projects or ideas. And, so far the level that it's taken place has been where the turbine company has been in touch with many individuals throughout the county as far as contracts or information, but have as yet not made a formal request to the county.
Correct.
That's all I would have for notices and communications. Ron, have you received anything or Janelle anything?
Just the county news.
Okay. So our next item is to consider resolutions. And one of the additions we had to the agenda was for a resolution 082423. And so we'll consider that at this time. This is in regards to having a posted speed limit east of Solomon. Janelle, if you'd go ahead and give us kind of the information on that and how that's come to be for our consideration.
So commissioners, as you know, 2 meetings ago, I believe you approved the CUP for Chuck Henry to move their storefront to that location just east of Solomon on Old 40 there. And that's going to be obviously their storage units. So part of the CUP includes driveways that will be coming off of Old 40. And in speaking with our county engineer and our road and bridge supervisor, the speed limit obviously is 55 miles an hour going down before you hit the city limits. So with the driveways coming out on the Old 40, we felt it was necessary and safe that we needed to reduce the speed limit there. So we will post speed limit, reduce speed ahead at 35 miles an hour, probably at least by Barn Road, maybe a little bit further east, and then it'll drop to 35 miles an hour and then move into the city limits of Solomon where they're at 30 miles an hour. So, and that's the recommendation after speaking with Martin, with Chad, our county engineer, that we should reduce it that low.
Okay. And basically it's because there's going to be large trucks stopping or slowing to make turns.
Exactly.
As well as leaving the facility. So.
The safety.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept 082324 for speed zone.
Okay.
2423.
2423 standard.
082423.
Correct. Yes.
I'll second that motion. The other thing, is there going to be any, I guess, lighting out there? I mean, sometimes people can gather that there's something there, so.
I believe that with where the placement of his storefront is going to be, there should be enough light coming out there. And then he'll also have some storage as well. So there should be some lighting as part of that. For that.
Is there any site approval that would take place as far as radius of turns and making sure?
That was, yes, that's part of the CUP that Tim had worked on too with and the planning and zoning board has
So that part's covered.
Yes.
Any other question or comment?
I'm good with it.
All in favor of the motion for resolution 082423, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We do not have any unfinished business or other business. As I mentioned before, the forklift purchase, we removed that from the agenda. The next item to consider is entering a contract regarding our health insurance with a company, Buckety?
Ucady Company.
Ucady.
Mhm.
Okay. So Janelle, I'll call on you again for information.
As you know, our insurance renewal is September 1 with the state of Kansas, who we have been contracting with to provide health insurance for our employees. And we have done some research, talked with other counties, and determined that it would be in the county's best interest to go to an insurance broker. And we reached out to Buckety after speaking with other counties that have utilized a broker and removed themselves from the state plan, we believe that there's going to be a comparable health insurance plan for our employees with some potential savings and also savings for the county. Also, we have control of the plan. We can determine the rates that would be part of that. We can determine who's going to, who will receive quotes from for our insurance provider, Delta Dental or Dental Vision, that. And this is a consulting agreement for them to work on our behalf. They would go out to market on our behalf. They would have we would have a personal relationship with them, whereas we don't have that currently with the state of Kansas. So our employees would be able to reach out directly to BCADY and have them answer any questions or reach out to the insurance provider that we would go with as well. So since the contract is going to renew, we need to make a decision as to moving off of the state contract. And BCADY is the company that we are recommending that we go with. So.
Okay. And I wasn't quite clear when you said we can set the rates. I mean, they would give us the rate of what the companies.
They would, but then we could make the determination if the county is going to pick up more or less. You know, right now, a family plan, it is set that the employee pays 55% and then the county pays the rest of it. We could move that percentage around a little bit.
I'll move to accept the contract for BCADY for health advisors.
I'll second that. Any other discussion? So we'll enter a contract with BCADY Company regarding our health insurance. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Then we'll notify the state that we would not be renewing with them for 2024. And that would actually have been a 3-year contract.
So this would have been effective. I mean, the insurance everybody has carries throughout the remainder of this year.
Correct. And the insurance with BCADY will, as our broker, will start in 24.
Okay. And then you did send out a kind of a memorandum throughout the county as far as employees, so they know that we're in the process of considering change.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, the next item we have is an agreement with the Central Kansas Free Fair. And I know we have some representatives from the fair here. And also congratulations for all the work that you've done for this free fair that took place. We, Jill gave us lots of information, and but I know you folks had a big part in that too. So it's just kind of a county effort.
It's a huge undertaking. It's always a relief to have it over, but we're glad it was successful. So
did you know what you were getting into when you became chair? And
it's been a lot, and it's worth it when you see all the people out there enjoying that activity. It's kind of makes it all worthwhile. So I was just really glad it went as well as it did, other than being extremely hot for a couple of days.
Wasn't hot then compared to now.
The first couple of days were pretty rough.
Yeah.
Pretty time here.
Yeah.
That's a part of it. That was really good.
It's that time of year. So Janelle, can you give a little bit of background as far as what this agreement involves? Because there's actually kind of a 2-part, but that's the first part. The other is in regards to the community kitchen. But first of all, the agreement.
The agreement. So as we were talking about the community kitchen for that grant, we determined that the lease agreement that we had with Central Kansas Free Fair to operate Sterl Hall on our behalf hadn't been updated since 2010. I believe that's when we approved it originally, and some changes have taken place since then. In particular, we noted that they do allow the sale of, or they do allow alcohol there on the premises now. Obviously, there's some criteria that's tied to that, and we needed to address the community kitchen in the agreement. So those are 2 of the larger changes in the agreement that we would have with the Kansas Free Fair.
And part of that, as far as like on the alcohol, they still had gotten approval because it involved the city of Abilene.
Right.
it was on their property per se.
But they also are required to have security and additional insurance. That's part of that when alcohol is served there at
That's true.
Sterl Hall for any events there, yes. So, and this just kind of cleans that agreement up and outlines what each entity is responsible for.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions as far as this agreement? I think we've all had time to review it and take a look at it. And I know, thank you, Janelle. I know you highlighted the 2 items that weren't addressed in the previous contract that needed to be placed in here.
I'll make a motion to accept the contract.
Okay, and I'll second that motion. We have the motion and the second for approval of updating the lease agreement with the Board of County Commissioners of Dixon County and also the Central Kansas Free Fair Association for Sterl Hall. Any other question or comment? We have the motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And this, Ron, I need your signature on here also. And then Bob, before you leave today, there's a place for you to sign. There's just one copy of that. You'll make copies.
Make sure you get,
But only one document needs to be signed.
well, and actually I think Bob's got a copy that he signed with him, or no?
I did not sign this one, so I
Okay.
can just sign that one and then we just pass.
Okay. Sounds good.
So the next item we have that involves the Central Kansas Free Fair, and this also was working with the Quality of Life Coalition for a community kitchen. And we've heard about this previously on what this would involve and the importance it has for the county. Plus, things just need to be updated. That's the status quo has been that way for quite a while out there. And a lot of meals and a lot of usage have taken place. But
Exactly.
so what do we have here as far as this community kitchen?
This is a memorandum of understanding that is required as part of the Pathways to Healthy Kansas grant. It's a grant through Blue Cross and Blue Shield initiative that's between Central Kansas Free Fair and the Quality of Life Coalition, and then obviously you as the commissioners, to establish a community commercial kitchen there in Sterl Hall. That's the like you said, there's a lot of meals that are served there, but they could expand that access to the kitchen and allow for food entrepreneurs there for their licensed food production. And I think this has been pretty successful in a lot of other community kitchens across the state, which is important as we've seen. You know, the North Central Regional Planning Commission has also done an initiative for food kitchens as well, and also the farm to table initiative. So I think this ties in nicely with what the Fair Board and the Quality of Life Coalition would like to do. The memorandum also of understanding also lists the financial plan for upgrades to the kitchen, and you know, some of the things have already taken place, but there'll be a few other things that they would need to do, like a mop sink, prep sink, hand washing sink, and then also we would need to work on a stove and countertops there. So we are requesting $25,000 for the county share of this grant, and then also the Pathways would match that fund as well. So, and as you know, there's money still sitting in the Sterl Hall Fund from the sales tax initiative that took place in the 90s.
Yeah.
That would be enough to cover that cost. We do have a few other things that we're going to be taking some money out of the Sterl Hall Fund for, which is air conditionings that need to be replaced in the interior restrooms that we've got. I'm getting quotes on those still because I know that was a little bit warm. You know, definitely. But the memorandum of understanding also outlines the responsibilities of the Fair Board on the rental and usage of the kitchen. It's a user agreement that will be developed that they would manage, and then the fees that are associated with that as well. So we would ask that you would approve that unless you have any questions for Bob or for Pat. for this.
Good.
And they've been involved throughout the whole process of discussion, so you're pretty much aware of this is a next step, this MOU.
Just FYI, our technical advisors have approved this, so it's just a formality. Obviously, the commissioners are supportive of it. With Bob's signature, the use agreement has pretty much already been ironed out. Quality of life is committed to our part. So with this, we'll be able to give Bob and Jean the information so they can go ahead with the grant process. They'll have over, maybe takes funds once the funds are received, so it gives them that time.
Okay,
I'll make that motion to approve.
I'll make the second. And just kind of for clarity, Pat, since you spoke and fewer people are watching online, what is your connection with Central Kansas Free Fair?
I am not connected with the Free Fair,
Or-
and I'm with the Quality of Life.
Quality of Life Coalition. Okay.
Life Coalition, project coordinator.
Okay, so you're QLC and then Bob, you're,
Yep, Central Kansas Free Fair.
We wanted to be sure we were here to answer any questions.
okay,
Appreciate that. Yeah.
thank you. Okay, we had the motion and I did give the second for this memorandum of understanding with Central Kansas Free Fair Quality of Life Coalition for the community kitchen, and that it meets the approval also of the county commission to proceed with this. Any other discussion? Question? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And this just requires one signature that I can do on behalf of the commission. And then there's signatures that we will get from the others involved.
Right.
Okay. We do not, on the printed agenda, we don't have anything more, but we did have the,
You have the support letter. from the-
yeah, we've done the
Right.
East of Solomon, we've done that part, and then we have the letter of support. This was added to the agenda.
No, the support letter wasn't. It was the letter to the Kansas State Treasurer that was added.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So the support letter is a request on behalf of the Abilene Smoky Valley Railroad for a grant that they are applying for through KDOT.
So we didn't have that on the agenda, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yes, go ahead and tell us more about that then.
So the KDOT has a program for railroad improvements, and the Smoky Valley Railroad is requesting that we support on their behalf. And this is for track work repairs and replacement along track work repairs and railroad crossing replacements along their path as they are improving their tracks. Same thing, but, as they're improving their tracks there. And as you know, the Smoky Valley Railroad is a large draw to not only Abilene, but to Dickinson County. And we did a support letter last week for the Sunderland application they had approved, or the requested as well. And that ties into this. So we're just ask that you would sign and approve the request.
Okay.
Get tongue.
I'll go ahead and move that we go ahead and send in a letter of support.
I'll second it.
We have the motion and the second to send in the letter of support, which will go to the Economic Development Programs Manager at KDOT, which happens to be also in the Dwight D. Eisenhower State Building. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next, a lot of signatures today, Ron. The next item we have, and actually last item, is in regards to unclaimed property. And so if you'd give us the overview on that, and that was brought to us by our treasurer, Leah Hearn.
So as many people may or may not be aware, the state of Kansas provides a list of unclaimed property. And that could be monies that had been turned in that for some reason never got to the place that they need to go. So you have the ability to go in and check and see if there's any unclaimed property that you as a citizen might have. Also, the county has that as well. And she had requested that we she would be allowed to make or process a payment for the EMS department and the sheriff's department. They're requesting additional information, basically an authorization that she could do that. Since she's the county treasurer, I've drafted a letter authorizing her to make those requests on behalf of all county departments in the future for unclaimed property that needs to come back to the county. So that's what this letter is in regards to.
Okay. And Steve Johnson is the state treasurer for the state of Kansas. And I know he was in Abilene here a few weeks ago and had mentioned to some of us that there was some unclaimed property that somehow should have been directed or collected by some departments here, but also numerous individuals throughout the county.
Mhm.
So you can go to the state website, but also check here.
Right.
And if your name, just check your last names and first name, see if it matches. And sometimes there are amounts of property that, or funds that are unclaimed. And every once in a while you hear a story where it's a large amount of money, but often it's less than $100 or a few $100s, but it's still money that people can use. And I think sometimes for individuals it's because they've moved,
Correct.
and whoever was trying to send them money, it got returned the sender type thing.
Mhm.
And so after a while, they just send it to the state of Kansas to hold it.
Mhm. And the treasurer's office will help citizens if they need some assistance on this as well. So
I'll make a motion to allow Leah Hearn to work on the unclaimed property from the different departments of Dickinson County.
Okay, and I'll second that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We do not have any other business then to bring before the commission. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it. Any discussion? We have the motion and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We're adjourned.